is like no place else.
Wait, you can't recycle the bag. You have to throw it away.
Proper recycling keeps it that way for everyone. Bags tangle in machinery and can bring sorting efforts to a halt.
No bags.
Trash the bags and keep our recycling program moving forward.
No, Mom, look, no plastic bags.
Do your part to keep our recycling bag-free. Trash the tanglers or return them to participating retailers. For more information, visit tampabayrecycles.org.
Hey, would you do me a favor? Grab your phone or smart device and open up that camera. Then point it right here at the QR code. Do you have it? I'll wait a second. When you see the link pop up on your screen, give it a tap. You ready? Boom! Welcome to the Hillsborough County official YouTube channel. We've got all sorts of videos here, all about what makes our community such an awesome place. From local events and community highlights to what's in the perfect Cuban sandwich. We've got it all. We're always adding new things, so while you're here, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a new video. Here's that QR code again, just in case you missed it. Go ahead and check it out. Ooh. This must have fallen out of that video. This really is the perfect Cuban sandwich.
Flossing in the morning is a really great way to keep your teeth healthy and start the day. But when you're through, here's what you do. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. There's a problem lots of people don't know, called sanitary sewer overflow. A condition buried deep in the ground, inside a pipe where bad clouds are found. It's a problem we can all help solve, so throw it in the trash, don't flush it. Baby wipes, bandages, cotton pads, paper towels, dental floss, clog up bad. Medicines, kitty litter, cotton swabs, hair. Throw them in the trash, don't flush it. It just takes a second to do the right thing, so toss it and let's keep our pipes clean. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. If it's not toilet paper, don't flush it. Even if it says you can, don't flush it. If you're having any doubts, don't flush it. One more time, don't flush it.
Welcome to a meeting of your Planning Commission, the official local planning agency for the cities of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, and unincorporated Hillsborough County. The Planning Commission provides innovative leadership and long-range vision that contributes to the creation of a thriving, prosperous community that offers opportunity, fairness, and choice in how we live, move, learn, work, and play. For more information about the Planning Commission, please call 813-272-5940. Follow us on social media or visit our website at planhillsborough.org.
Welcome to the December 11th, 2023 regular meeting of the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. For those attending in person and wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign the register at the rear of the room and turn off any devices that may be a distraction. To minimize feedback in the audio, all online participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should unmute themselves to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for the local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. That's PLANNER@plancom.org. For action items, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chair. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal or response. Planning commissioners will ask questions. Public comment will be closed. Then upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. With that introduction, would you please join me in the invocation and pledge of allegiance? All rise, please, if you can. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with praise for your mighty power and guidance. We thank you for this day, and thank you too for the many blessings in our lives, for our great country, and for the opportunity to live in freedom. We ask your blessings on our leaders, and we ask that you give each one of us here today the wisdom to make the right choices so that our decisions will be in the best interest of the people of Hillsborough County. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, with that, I'd like to ask the clerk to go ahead and call roll, please.
Bowden.
Here.
Buzza.
Here.
Cardenas.
Here.
Kona.
Here.
Fernandez.
Here.
Kress. Here. Lauk.
Here.
Soria.
Here.
Sebian. Orton.
Here.
Rodriguez. Joseph.
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will do our next item on the agenda, which is the standards of conduct and the oath of office for our new commissioner, Mr. Kona. Should be through the clerk, I believe. Yeah, you'll be doing it. All right.
Please repeat after me. I, Steve Kona, a Planning Commission appointee
I, Steve Kona, a Planning Commission appointee
of Hillsborough County,
of Hillsborough County,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm,
that I will faithfully perform the duties
that I will faithfully perform the duties
of my appointee office
of my appointed office
in a fair,
equitable,
excuse me, ethical, dignified
and dignified
manner in compliance with all the applicable laws
laws
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida,
Hillsborough County,
Hillsborough County,
and the practices and procedures
and the practices and procedures
established by the Planning Commission.
established by the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, welcome aboard. Did you want to take a moment to tell us a little bit about yourself? Or?
No, well, it's great to be here, and it's great to serve on this commission with all of you. I'm a former member of the Hillsborough County School Board. I'm also a former trustee of Hillsborough Community College, so I appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve Hillsborough County and look forward to working with each and every one of you guys.
All right, cool. So you should be used to these long meetings, huh? All right, welcome aboard. All right, our next item of business on the agenda is the presentation of a plaque to former Commissioner Stephen Bernstein, City of Tampa appointee. You read it here. It says, presented to Stephen Bernstein, City of Tampa appointee, 2019 through 2023, in recognition and appreciation for 4 years of exemplary service on the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission and vision, leadership, and commitment to improving the quality of life in our community. Congratulations, Commissioner Bernstein.
Thanks, and I'll be very brief. I've certainly been, there we go. You'd think I would remember that much. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve with my fellow members of this esteemed commission, and I'm sorry really to have wrapped up my term. It went by so quickly. You all do some remarkable work here, you know that. Listening to the oath getting read to Commissioner Kona, it really brought home to me how much every member of this commission has fulfilled that oath, which I know is not something you take lightly. And it's been an honor and privilege to work with you, Ms. Zernita, and your remarkable staff. You all were inspiring. Every moment I was on this commission, I was just so impressed by how much dedicated effort went into the work that you do. And I know I can speak for all the commissioners up here and how much they appreciate that. And I guess in closing, I would just say that it's really impressed upon me that every one of you come to this commission with your own unique experiences, your own unique backgrounds, and your own perspectives, and yet every time you come to this meeting, you seem to find a way to find common ground and have always made decisions that are in the best interests of the citizenship of Hillsborough County, and I'm confident that as long as you continue to do that, you cannot make a bad decision. So thank you so much. I've truly enjoyed every minute of it, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. Our next agenda item, we did standards of conduct, plaques, public input, and I don't believe anyone signed up for public input for items not for action on the agenda. So we will move on to our action items, and the first one is 3A, Planning Commission User Fee Study Recommendations, and the presenter is Sean College.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Sean College with Planning Commission staff. Start the PowerPoint here. This is staff's recommendation on the recently completed user fee study for services provided to the cities. Just a real quick, again, refresher and background. The current fees for city services done by the Planning Commission have not been adjusted since they were first adopted in the 80s. So they're quite old and out of date. They were based on costs and labor in the 80s, which you can imagine has changed considerably since then. We did hire a consultant, MGT Consulting, that did a study on the appropriate cost and labor involved in providing these services. That was presented to the Planning Commission at their October 9th Planning Commission meeting. And MGT Consulting in that study did recommend increases in those fees. On your screen now was the findings of the study. And as you can imagine, it did show considerably, that we're charging currently considerably lower than what it costs to perform the services to the cities. On the next screen is the simplified fee schedule that is being recommended by Planning Commission staff. The recommendation is that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation to the cities for them to increase their fees in accordance with this simplified fee schedule now that's on your screen. And there was one change from the fee study that was recommended in October. The 3 rezoning fees for the cities were analyzed together. We found out in the interim that splitting them up and analyzing them separately showed that Plant City and Temple Terrace had considerably lower costs, lower labor costs. So we were able to actually reduce their fee considerably, and actually there'd be no change in Plant City fee. The current fee is adequate, and a small fee for Temple Terrace. This is the fee schedule, the implementation schedule. We have a recommended implementation schedule for you. The smaller fees would be implemented immediately. The larger increases are recommended that they be implemented in three different increases over 2 years. There would be an initial increase, a second increase 1 year later, and a third increase 2 years later, and spreading out that increase over the 2-year period. That is the recommendation, and that's in your packet. If you have any questions, I'm available. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we did not have anyone sign up to comment on this, so I will turn it over to the planning commissioners for questions, comments, discussions on this item. Commissioner Buzza.
Just a broad question. We need to be paid for our services, but is there any vehicle for folks of lower income to be able to get some sort of discount? Not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but when you double the fee, there's some lower income folks may not be able to initiate this process.
Yes, we did look into that. That came up before. These are costs that are borne or that are required or by the cities. So the city could waive those fees.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, we did discuss it with Mr. Robin that our procedures don't have anything that prohibit the waiving of the fees, but it would probably be most appropriate for that to come from the jurisdiction that they recommend on a certain application. Maybe it's because it's an affordable housing project, or maybe because of, as you said, the applicant is a nonprofit, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Conan.
Yes, the rezoning fee in Tampa is going up quite significantly, $150 to $2,200 in a 3-year period. To me, that seems a little bit high, but I don't know what your thought process is. I know most of those rezonings come from the city of Tampa as well, so.
Right, so the study analyzed actual staff labor time by the different staff that utilize this, that do these reviews, and Tampa's are more involved and take more staff time. So that's recommended by the consultant as full cost recovery. All these are full cost recovery, or close to full cost recovery recommendations.
All right, Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had brought this up last month, but I think it would be really good if we, I said maybe per unit, there are ways so we can have our fees attached by how many units were built, or maybe even the designation, the land use type. So if someone is only going from a single family res to a duplex or something like that, or a skyscraper, we can sort of somehow adjust for those. I think would be a little bit more fair. I understand that each report has to be put together and all the same things will go into that, but as some of my other commissioners said, that could be quite expensive.
Commissioner Gordon.
Do these fees include legal ads, mailings, posting of signs, and GIS maps that are included in all of these different projects?
They do. They include the various aspects of the work we do here in the Planning Commission.
Because I know a legal ad is about $1,000 for land use changes, so I was wondering if that is included in this fee.
No, the prorated cost of the ad per applicant is charged separately from the application fee. It does include all the mapping, the preparation of the notices, but the applicants are required to mail those out. Typically they also post the sign, but we prepare and give them the sign. So all of that is incorporated.
Yes, Commissioner Laub.
I see in the peer review study, I see Hillsborough County. I see some other close jurisdictions, Orlando, Lakeland. Did we look at any large counties comparable to the size of Hillsborough County, maybe in Orange County?
They looked at what's in here. These are the only ones they looked at. It's very difficult to compare. Even what's in here, and at the end, you'll see notes in the report that talked about the difficulty in comparing apples to apples, because we're a planning commission. We're not an actual jurisdiction. So we're kind of another layer, and it's hard to find that same apples-to-apple comparison anywhere else, or most other places.
I do share some of, on another note, I share some of Commissioner Buzz's concerns regarding barrier of entry. When I think of small developers, maybe not even small developer, but landowners who are specifically trying to attack their own properties, where you haven't carved out any allowances for that, I think there's some opportunity to maybe go back and take a look at that if possible. These fees seem pretty steep, and if it covers the cost of services, cost of labor for us, totally understandable. But when I look at an owner of an individual parcel or a couple parcels and they're trying to do some work there, these seem pretty steep.
Thank you, Commissioner Welk. I had one question. These, like you said, these fees for recovery of our work costs, that means we're not recovering our work costs right now, and that would mean that someone else is covering that work cost?
Right. If you look, I've put back on the screen the results of the study, and you'll see in the third column, price minus cost. That's effectively the subsidy from the general fund of the county. Basically, all taxpayers are therefore subsidizing the cost of an individual applicant.
Okay. And one more question, because I'm not a very wise man, but we're not changing the fees, we're recommending that the municipalities change the fees.
That is correct. The fees are created by the jurisdiction. So so we would be transmitting a recommendation to the jurisdictions, city councils, for them to increase their fees.
And what if they said no? We're just kind of, all right.
It's their prerogative.
Right. Thank you. Were there any more? Yes, Commissioner Fernandez.
I would just want to build on what I was saying earlier. Why not maybe if they're going to build a very large building, have them pay more than recovery? Is that a possibility where if, building 200 units on 20 stories, they have to pay $30,000 maybe, something that.
I don't think we can legally charge more than our own cost recovery, basically. Right. Okay. And I think, and there was some thought amongst discussion about smaller developers, but there aren't a lot of small developers. Most of them are pretty large scale. This is coming from the consultant, are pretty, larger scale asks. And also, to some extent, there wasn't necessarily a lower labor cost at the Planning Commission for something that was a little smaller versus something that's really, really big. Actually, the same amount of time and effort amongst staff. Again, there is an opportunity for any developer or citizen to go to the city council and say, look, I'm just doing this in my home, my grandparents' property, could you reduce or waive my fee? And that would be the prerogative of the local jurisdiction.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any other, Commissioner Kona?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there a possibility that those jurisdictions can actually increase our recommended fees? So what I'm saying is, so we're going to say it's 7,000. Are they going to come on top of us and say, well, they said 7, so we must need to raise it 14 or something like that?
Well, again, we have no control over what city councils do. We're making a recommendation. I would hope they would be sensitive to it. Again, I think I'm not a lawyer, but I think there would be some challenges to charging more than what is known as the actual cost.
But I would just say, to your point, when we recommend, the county updated their fees in 2020 and have for example, a plan amendment for the unincorporated county costs a little over $8,000. So when that happened, the Planning Commission at that time recommended phasing in the fees, like Mr. College has proposed. And the Board of County Commissioners at that time said, nope, we're just going to charge 100% right now. So, yeah, they can do that, but it would be, to Mr. College's point, challenging to say that it costs more than it actually costs. And that's why we want to provide that actual cost data to them.
Right. Any more questions or comments or discussion items from the commissioners? Going once? Yes, Ms.
Can I add
Romita.
one other thing? Just one other point of just information. If you all wanted to, move this forward to city council and include, or the city councils, include within that transmittal some of the discussion around ensuring that there is a waiver process or a process by which the fees can be modified on for those lower intensity users, those individuals who are nonprofits or maybe are doing affordable housing. Again, that was something that, by my recollection, the Planning Commission recommended as part of their transmittal to the Board of County Commissioners in 2020. The Board of County Commissioners did not act upon that part, but I do think that that is something that you all could articulate to the city councils.
Okay, good point. All right. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Bowden.
I have a question. So are you talking about sort of like a means test?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how each city council would make that determination, but certainly it's within any local government's purview to say, we would like to initiate a plan amendment on behalf of a certain property owner, or Planning Commission go out and take a look at this piece of property and do the work. If they give us that direction, that's one way, but they also could consider a fee waiver for, an affordable housing project or a nonprofit related project. I think that would not be out of the realm of possibilities for them to do.
Okay, so I guess what I'm hearing you saying is that would be a process they would have to develop to actually make those exceptions or something of that nature.
Right. Ultimately, I think it would be their process, but if you all wanted to include as part of your recommendation that should be something that they consider and incorporate into a way to do that, I think that would be very appropriate.
All right. Are there any other discussion points or questions from the commissioners? I see heads shaking, so it must be about that time. Going once, going twice. I'll close the public comment on that item and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Commissioner Joseph. I'd like us to go ahead and recommend approval for the recommended fee increases and implementation schedule to the cities of Tampa, Plant City, and Temple Terrace, and include our commentary to those jurisdictions. Obviously, we're recommending, and they have final say. So I'll recommend approval.
All right. We have a motion of recommended approval by Commissioner Buzza. Is there a second to that motion anywhere out there? Commissioner Fernandez.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Buzza to approve the recommendation and forward it on to the various jurisdictions here. And a second to that motion by Commissioner Fernandez. Are there any more questions or discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. Will all signify their support by saying aye. 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 Nays? Or opposed? Okay. We have one opposition from Commissioner Kona. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9?
There's 9 total.
The vote count is 9-1. Commissioner Kona voting no.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 8-1. Commissioner Kona voting no.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8-1. Yeah. All right. It passes. All right. Next up on our agenda is item 3B, Port of Tampa Bay Standard Work Permit Application, number 23048, berth 218, Wharf. And the presenter is Lizzie. I'm not going to try. I'm just going to let you say it.
It's Lizzie Baker.
Okay.
It was Eric, but I changed to Baker.
Okay.
So Lizzie Baker, Planning Commission staff. The action, let's see. Am I sharing that yet? Okay. Can you see? Okay, great. The action item that I'm presenting to you today is the Port Tampa Bay Standard Work Permit, number 23048, berth 218, Wharf.
And the applicant is Port Tampa Bay.
The port sent us the permit to review for consistency with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan pursuant to Chapters 95-488 and 97-351, the laws of Florida. This is the project area. It's on the southwestern corner of Hooker's Point, leading out to Hillsborough Bay. And this is a zoomed-in image of the project location. And this is another vantage point of the Berth 218 wharf. This is actually from the Port Tampa Bay Master Plan, the 2030 vision of Hooker's Point. And you can also see a graphic depiction of the proposed Berth 218. So the location or the channels along Hooker's Point are currently used for port activities. So they are currently dredged and maintained for port activities to allow large vessels to maneuver. Additionally, there is some ship congestion and downtime that occurs at Berth 219, which is just north of the proposed project location, as the ships wait for other ships to unload. And then lastly, there is no significant natural resources present at the project location. The proposed project is to construct a Berth 218, which is a new deep water berthing area. So Berth 218 will allow for docking and unloading of large vessels such as cargo ships. You can see on the image here that there will be a cement walkway and there will also be high wind mooring points. Some of the factors considered when comparing the permit to the Tampa Comprehensive Plan were environmental impacts. There were no significant environmental impacts identified to existing or ancillary natural resources. We also looked at the commercial activity at the port, which is, and the economic benefits provided to the public from the proposed project. Based on the review, the recommendation from the Planning Commission staff is to find Port Tampa Bay permit number 23048 consistent with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here as well as representatives from the port are here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there another presentation, or is that the only one? Okay.
That was the only one.
Oh, yeah, you got to come up and identify yourself.
Thank you for your time today. I'm Patrick Blair, Vice President of Engineering at Port Tampa Bay. Jose De Jesus, the Director of Engineering, is with me as well.
And I'm Pete Owens with Applied Sciences, so we're here to take any questions you might have on the project or any considerations.
Okay, thank you. All right, no one signed up for the public comment on this item either, so I will turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion items or questions. Not seeing any. Commissioner Soria.
Just one question. Mentions about the cargo ships. Is it compatible with all the sizes of ships that dock in Tampa Port, or just a certain specific size of ships?
Just north of the proposed construction project is an existing Berth 219. It's shared between a refrigerated facility that brings in cold product like fruits and vegetables and a cement facility, Titan Cement and Aggregates. The congestion between the two has become so great that it's causing a congestion issue. So we're going to separate the two upland users or tenants. So this wharf will will service only the cement facility, Titan Cement and Aggregate.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Lauk, I see you moving. Nope. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. I will go ahead and close public comment on this item and open it up to motions. Commissioner Lauk.
Thank you, Commissioner Joseph. I move that we find the proposed Port Tampa Bay Standard Work Permit application number 23-048 consistent with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
A motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Lauk, a second by Commissioner Kona. Are there any questions or discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any, would all please signify approval or agreement by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any opposed? None? All right. Passes unanimously. Thank you for the presentation and for your time.
Commissioners. Thank you, Lizzie.
Thanks so much. Very nice presentation.
All right. Our next agenda item is not for action. We're done with our action items. Our first briefing and presentation is 4A 2024 through 2029 Strategic Plan Update, and the presenter is Katrina Corcoran.
Good afternoon. One moment. Katrina Corcoran, Planning Commission staff. I'm very excited to be here today to present to you the draft 2024 to 2029 strategic plan. So we currently have our 2018 to 2023 strategic plan. And as you can see here on this slide, there are over 7 strategic categories that we put our strategies into for this current strategic plan. This strategic plan has overseen a number of accomplishments for the Planning Commission over the last 5 years. But as we're nearing the end of 2023, it's also nearing the end of its time horizon, and it's time for it to be updated. And taking a quick step back, there are a number of items that the Planning Commission, the Transportation Planning Organization, and the River Board are mandated to do. You can see these listed here. So lots of things that we're required to do on top of something like our strategic plan that looks more closely at things that we'd like to expand upon for the agency. So we're here today to talk about that update, and it defines the priority of the agency for the next 5 years. Again, the strategic plan is really focused on the short term. A lot of our plans, our comprehensive plans, our long-range transportation plans, those are focused more on the long term. So this allows us to expand on those agency requirements and values, on items that we want to work on, and expand for the agency. The strategic plan is non-regulatory and non-binding, so it's nothing that we put in there is required of the agency. And any work that we do on behalf of the strategic plan would have its own process, be implemented within those binding documents, such as the comprehensive plan, and would have their own public outreach process. This shows you a project timeline. So we've been working on this for quite a while. We've touched base with our staff through an all-staff survey. We've also touched base with the various boards through surveys, chair interviews, and a retreat that we held in June. Based on all of that feedback, we've drafted the strategic plan. And now through January, we'll be taking your questions and your feedback on this draft. And the plan will be finalized in February. So looking at the all-staff survey, just to give you a few highlights from the main themes, land use and transportation still is very important to our staff as a high priority. Also want to focus on trends, emerging trends, and keeping our strong leadership of the organization. Also focusing on implementation as well as our long-term focus as a long-range planning agency, making sure that we're driving change and we're really focusing on the public. Through the board retreat, the survey, and the interviews, a lot of similar themes were arrived at, including the land use and transportation, again, being a high priority for our boards, as well as regionalism, transportation infrastructure, and as well as safety, topics such as affordable housing, resiliency, continuing our great partnerships and growing those partnerships, and also continuing our community engagement and improving upon that. Just going to skip through these graphics. There we go. So this is an overview of the draft strategic plan. As you can see, we've organized this into pillars and goals. You saw earlier there were 7 strategic priorities. Now we've streamlined that to 4. They include integrated and connected communities, partnerships and community engagement, resilient and natural built environment, technology, and operational enhancements. So these are organized into those pillars, which each have their goals. The next few slides, I'll be talking about the strategies underneath these. One item of note is that although these have numbers, that's not associated, that's more for organizational purposes as opposed to implementation or priority. Our first pillar is integrated and connected communities. The first goal here is to connect mobility and land use. So with this, we really want to look at population growth and infrastructure needs and how we'll address that as an agency. We want to look at our policies for transportation safety and study funding options for multimodal transportation improvements. Our second goal under this pillar is to encourage housing opportunities and choice. So working with the jurisdictions to protect and promote affordable, equitable, and diverse housing through our policies, refining our bonus structures, and also making sure that we're working with the community and developers to understand housing-related wants and needs. Our second pillar is partnerships and community engagement. The goal here, our first goal here, is to ensure seamless regional to local connections and partnerships. So making sure that we're pursuing joint planning efforts that are regional in nature, that also strengthen connections to regional transportation and environmental initiatives, and also focusing on state and federal grant opportunities for those projects. Again, under partnerships and community engagement, our second goal is to improve public education and engagement, making sure that we're involving the community in the planning process throughout all stages and using innovative methods to do so. We also want to strengthen our strong existing interagency relationships and create new public-private partnerships, especially with organizations that we haven't previously really had as much conversations with. And as a part of that, while we're working with our partners on projects, making sure that we're telling them about our requirements, the things that you saw earlier that we're required to do, as well as the things that we want to do through items such as our strategic plan. Our third pillar is resilient natural and built environment, and our first goal here is to strengthen resiliency policies and planning projects. We'll do that through strategies such as our resiliency policies and tools, also enhancing strategies for development in the coastal high hazard area, and ensuring that communities are sustainable, livable, and healthy. So focusing on projects that we already have that hit on that area, such as Homegrown Hillsborough or the TPO's Air Quality Monitoring Project, making sure that we're continuing on with those types of projects or starting new projects that are similar. Our second goal here is to enhance connections between the natural and built infrastructure, so incorporating economic and infrastructure policies into our comprehensive plans, while also enhancing the connections between the natural and built environment. So an example of that would be green infrastructure language within One Water of our comprehensive plans. Also considering socio-demographics, environmental factors, and neighborhood conditions and trends for our projects. Examples of that would be looking at our work on Palm River and Valrico, making sure that we're understanding the community that we're working in. Our final pillar is technology and operational enhancements, and the goal here is to manage and enhance administrative and financial processes. This is very much an internal pillar, but it helps the rest of the agency keep moving with our planning work. So our strategies here include empowering our staff and refining our best practices. As many of you know, we've had some high-profile retirements, so making sure that we're working on our succession planning as staff retire and other staff move up. And also leveraging emerging technologies for our internal work. So making sure that things like AI and advanced GIS, we can utilize that for our work. For next steps, we will be going in front of the TPO-CAC on January 3rd, the TPO-TAC on January 8th, the TPO Board January 10th, and the full River Board on January 22nd. We actually already presented this to the River Board TAC in November. After we take in all of the questions, comments, and feedback that you all have, we'll be presenting a finalized draft or a finalized strategic plan on February 12th for Planning Commission adoption. So I know this is a lot of information in one day, so I'm happy to answer any questions or take your feedback today. But if you have any other thoughts, this is my contact information as well as my supervisor, the project manager on this. So if anything comes up after today, we appreciate your comments and feedback. With that, this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions and take any feedback that you may have on the draft. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions or discussion items? Some feedback? Oh, Commissioner Kress, yes, please.
We've had the director of ELAP in front of us in the last year or so, and we've talked about the importance of wildlife corridors and some of the parcels that they maybe are targeting. Do you think that would be worthy enough to call that as a goal, or does that just kind of fall under some of the other information you have?
It may fall under something, but that's something that I'll write down and take a closer look at with our strategies. One thing that we found when we brought this to our staff is a lot of things that staff talked about really fell into more of the implementation of the strategies than a strategy themselves. But I will take a closer look at that. You said that was ELAP, looking at ELAP lands for acquisition.
Yeah, and for the preservation of wildlife corridors. And then, did you want to comment on that, Sean?
Right. Very worthy what you're saying. What strikes me, though, is I'm not sure, it is ELAP that purchases land, not the Planning Commission. This is the Planning Commission's strategic plan.
Yeah.
It's for the executive director and staff what we can do internally. So I'm not sure, in terms of land use, it would be our purview to impede upon the ELAP
Sure,
program.
I guess one way you could slice that is, and I think you've started to maybe identify some of those areas on the maps that you show us. Is that what you were going to say, Melissa? So.
Right, and we did hint at this in the update to the county plan, which just took place. We made a major step forward in wildlife corridor policy in terms of working with the local government to establish those wildlife corridors and protect them through the code, through the comp plan and thusly the code. So that kind of effort was done through the comprehensive plan. It's very worthy, but you just got to be careful that we can't purchase land ourselves.
Overstep, sure, okay.
I was just going to say we have a strategy 3.2.2 in here that talks, consider opportunities for enhanced connections between natural environment, built environment, and various infrastructure needs. I'm thinking there's some wording in there that we might be able to tweak to make it more clear that we should be looking at, a priority on like the preservation of those opportunities.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
And then if I may, sorry if I missed it, but did you have anything about the urban service area?
We do have, we have a strategy, and this is 1.1.1, that talks about our approaches to addressing population growth and infrastructure needs, and those approaches including infill and redevelopment approaches and careful study of strategic expansion.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? I did have one, since we're old friends, Ms. Corcoran, and staff's obviously going to get a lot of this from me in 24, so everybody should be prepared for it. But goal 1.2, encourage housing opportunities and choice, equitable housing. Do we as an agency, because I'm not going to throw it on you, but do we have, as an agency, have a definition for what equitable housing is?
Not that I'm aware of in terms of our comprehensive plans, but I think what we were getting at with that is making sure that housing, there's opportunities for choice within housing in that area, that people can choose to live in a variety of types of housing and where they want to live. And that's
Well, I think staff should be clear when we talk about things like that, because in this county, we have problems with affordability. We have problems with fair housing, right? There's civil rights and all sorts of other federal legislation that actually exists, right, that we need to focus on. But I did a little research myself. I went to HUD, went to a couple other websites, and what you can't find is a definition of what equitable housing is anywhere. So it seems to me the word was just thrown in the document kind of thoughtlessly, and we don't want to do that going forward, like I said, because I'm watching like a hawk now. So let's take a look at that and get it cleaned up if we need to, or come back to me with a great definition, and I'll be willing to listen. But until then, I don't want to see extraneous stuff in our documents like that. I think it does our community a disservice, so let's be very careful going forward.
Thank you for your feedback.
Were there any other questions or discussion points from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this point. Well, thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you again. All right, next up on the agenda is item 4B, HCCPA 23-08, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, Armand Drive and Soccer Avenue, and the presenter is Jillian Massey.
Good afternoon. I'm Jillian Massey with Planning Commission staff. This is HCCPA 23-08, Armand Drive and Soccer Avenue. This may look familiar to you because this is actually continued from the April cycle of plan amendments, but has since been revised. This is some background on this request is that it's a privately initiated small-scale map amendment. It's located on 2 parcels that total approximately 9.81 acres. The request is to change the parcels from public/quasi-public and residential 4 to residential 6. As mentioned, this plan amendment has been continued from the April cycle of map amendments. It's located in the urban service area in the western portion of unincorporated county, and it's within the limits of the Town and Country Community Plan. This is an aerial photo of the site outlined here in pink. It's located east of Hanley Road and Armand Drive, and on the north side of Soccer Avenue. The site is currently vacant, And surrounding uses include single-family residential on all sides and a public school and park located immediately adjacent to the site. The Veterans Expressway is located to the east of the site, and there are a few townhome and condo developments located to the west of the site. This is the adopted future land use map for the subject site. Currently, it's designated as residential 4 and public/quasi-public. It's surrounded by residential 4 to the north. Suburban mixed-use 6 is over further east out of this, the scale of this map. And public/quasi-public is located to the south, as well as residential 6. And to the west is residential 20. I should add that you can see here in this map, there's this green boundary or green markings. That's the coastal high hazard area. This site is not within that area, but it does border it to the north. And so the proposal is to change the future land use to residential 6. Slide outlines the potential impacts of changing the site to residential 6. Currently, the land use designations that the site make up would allow for a consideration of up to 4 dwelling units and approximately 106 square thousand feet of a non-residential development. The proposed amendment would maintain suburban scale neighborhood commercial at a floor area ratio of 0.25, but it would increase the residential density of a potential 58 dwelling units. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion items? I know Commissioner Fernandez was waiting.
Yeah, I remember this one.
Yes.
Can you remind me, this was a city-owned pool, this property?
This site was,
Well, the soccer field's the south, but I think there was a city-owned pool here.
it wasn't a pool, it was a previous, I think like a recycling or a landfill site,
Okay, okay, that was gonna be the next question if there was,
Yes.
okay, thanks.
or one of the parcels was, one of the two, the one furthest on the corner.
Commissioner Cardenas?
Do we remember how many units they were going for last time, what it was?
So previously, I can't remember the exact number, but previously there was a third parcel involved, farther to the east. The one in yellow, that's residential 6. So it was in the hundreds, I think. Now they've scaled it back just to the 2 parcels. No, so previously
sorry,
they were
was it-
requesting residential 9.
That's what I thought.
Now they're
It was
they're
bigger.
requesting residential 6.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I remember that.
All right. Commissioner Lau? No. All right. Are there any other discussion items or questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any. We'll thank you for the information and move on to our next agenda item. And that would be 4C, HCCPA 23-16, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 13320 Kane Road, and the presenter is Jillian Massey again.
Again, Jillian Massey with Planning Commission staff. I'll be presenting this briefing on HCCPA 23-16, which is 13320 Kane Road. Some background on this request is that it's a privately initiated small-scale map amendment located on 2 parcels, excuse me, that total approximately 3.87 acres. The request is to change the site from residential 4 to light industrial planned. Again, this request may look familiar to you. This is previously continued from the July 2023 cycle, but revised slightly. It's located in the urban service area on in the western portion of the county. It's also within the limits of the greater Carrollwood Northdale Community Plan. This is an aerial photo of the site outlined in pink. It's located on the west side of Kane Road and north of Gun Highway. The site is located to the east of the Veterans Expressway. According to the Hillsborough County property appraiser, the site is currently vacant and owned by the church located immediately to the south. Other surrounding uses mainly include single-family detached residential and light commercial uses along Gun Highway. This is the adopted future land use map for the subject site. Currently, it's designated as residential 4, which allows consideration of residential uses at up to 4 dwelling units per gross acre, and suburban-scale neighborhood commercial, office, multipurpose, and mixed-use projects that are limited to 0.25 floor area ratio. The site is completely surrounded by the residential 4 future land use designation. Across, or further south across Gun Highway is designated as residential 6 and residential 9. This is the proposed future land use map for the subject site. The proposal is to change the future land use designation from residential 4 to light industrial planned. The light industrial plan designation allows for consideration of light industrial uses such as processing, manufacturing, recycling, and storage of materials as the predominant uses, including support offices, warehousing, and rural scale retail uses pursuant to the locational criteria. And residential uses are not permitted in this category. This slide outlines the potential impacts from changing the site from residential 4 to light industrial planned. Currently, up to 15 dwelling units can be considered on this site, and a change to light industrial planned would not allow for consideration of residential uses at all. Under the residential 4 designation, up to approximately 42,000 square feet of non-residential development at a floor area ratio of 0.25 can be considered, subject to locational criteria. And the change to light industrial plan would allow for up to 126,000 square feet of non-residential development at a floor area ratio of 0.75. Also, the proposed amendment would eliminate the possibility of residential uses and introduce light industrial uses. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you. The commissioners, are there any questions, discussion items? The church to the south, you said owns it?
Yes.
Okay. And hopefully they're going to be making a presentation when all this comes back before us? for this?
Their
You might want to tell them we might want to.
representative
Yeah,
would
okay.
likely be making a presentation.
Yeah.
yes.
All right. Are there any other questions or discussion points? No? All right. Well, thank you for the presentation.
you.
And we will move on to our next item. Is 4D HCCPA 23-18 Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment, Rural Area Policies. And the presenter is Sean College.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners. I am Sean College with Planning Commission staff. This item is Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2318 Rural Area Utility Policies. The request, this is a publicly initiated plan amendment. The text amendment is a text amendment to the One Water chapter of the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. It modifies the rural area water and wastewater policies with the primary intent of addressing negative impacts from septic tanks. It was developed with the support of the Environmental Protection Commission of Hillsborough County and Hillsborough County staff. In particular, the Environmental Protection Commission was interested in doing this change to the comprehensive plan to address the potential for harmful environmental effects of concentrations of septic tanks. Giving you the existing context of what's in the comprehensive plan now, public potable water and wastewater lines are not permitted to be extended in the rural area unless meeting certain exceptions. It's a planned village. It serves a project with established vested rights, addresses a documented public health hazard, serves a public school, or properties meeting a number of requirements within the wellhead resource protection area or Tampa Bay water wellfield mitigation areas. Adjacent connections, single service connections to existing lines are permissible when meeting certain criteria, specifically single service connections. So it's quite restrictive. And there would be a little bit of a change to this. What's being proposed under this amendment, this proposed amendment, would be to add new policies to allow for rural area utility extensions for adverse environmental conditions attributable to septic or private franchise infrastructure and prevention of clustering of new septic tanks in areas prone to flooding or in an environmentally sensitive area. And this, again, was written with the Environmental Protection Commission. Update policy to allow properties adjacent to existing rural lines to connect additional properties. They can subdivide if an existing parcel that's adjacent to a current line, and those properties can connect. But it's not meant to allow for the extension of lines further into the rural area or for increases in density pursuant to the availability of water in this manner. It would add new policy to outline the process for enabling rural area utility extensions serving unique circumstances in cases of overriding public interest as determined by the Board of County Commissioners. And there were some other minor miscellaneous provisions for clarity. And that would be the proposal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion items on this one? The commissioners, I had a couple questions. Yeah, Commissioner Lauck, you can go. All right. This review section, and far be it from me to question the Board of County Commissioners, because this is clearly all their purview of stuff, not ours, but 4.3.2, this review shall evaluate the following factors. Factor number 2, the degree to which the project or activity would positively or adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare or the property of others. And number 3, the degree to which the project or activity would create demonstrable environmental, social, transportation, or other benefits to the public at large. Is there, I mean, how is that figured out? Or they just have carte blanche there to determine which project does and doesn't? I mean, again, obviously this is going to be a BOCC thing, so this is not our thing, but it just sounds so wildly subjective. I mean,
I would say, some things are very objective and numeric. Some things are, in the comprehensive plan, take consideration of different, evidence to one area or the other. And in this case, the Board of County Commission would weigh the evidence and make a decision.
all right. Yes, Ms. Ornita.
If I could just, I'll give you an example of a situation that came up that this would potentially apply to was a library in Thanona-Sassa wanting to expand and connect into services. And there's a, overriding public good in doing that. And so that was an example of a project that we were kind of had in our heads trying to think about. There have been a couple of other exemptions where I think they might have gotten taken care of in some of the other language, but some areas in Lutz where folks have wanted to connect into water lines because of various reasons and include the whole subdivision. Now the other policy would address that, but we were just trying to avoid having a specific exemption for every little possibility that could come up.
I hear that.
Yeah.
How come this isn't in the LDC? Why is this showing up in our policy documents?
It will be.
Okay.
Actually, Ms. Dickens is working with, and we should have mentioned that John McCary and Kim Rogers from the Public Utilities Department are online. They've been our partners in preparing this. They, along with Development Services staff, are working with us on a land development code amendment that will be moving alongside this.
Okay, well, I'll say this now since it's early on in developing, but my concern here is that, BOCC members try to put things in our policy documents to then use the policy documents to empower themselves to do whatever they want when they're sitting at the board. If they want that kind of power, I think those statements should go in the Land Development Code. That should be a regulatory thing that empowers the BOCC and elected officials to do things. These are really kind of squishy policy documents we're putting here, and when you leave things too far open and then the electeds come back and say, well, the Planning Commission document said we can do da-da-da-da-da, and try and, kick the ball to us, I found that's not a fun situation to be in. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. You want to protect our policy documents and make sure things that the elected officials want to give themselves power, they can have it all. It's fine with me, but that should be in their regulatory documents,
So there have been some of these exemptions that the board has granted because it has been determined that, the board is the ultimate arbiters of the comprehensive plan. So if somebody, there have been times when, as I said, a subdivision in Lutz, petitioned, a county commissioner championed, and they said, yes, we're going to make an exemption to our policy. But nowhere in our policy did it actually say the board can make an exemption to our policy. So I think we were trying to close the loop there to make sure that it was clear that they could do that. Now, the most important one from the comp plan standpoint is number 1 in that list. Your feedback is well taken that in particular 2 and 3 are maybe a bit open-ended.
Yeah, I found number 1 okay. You see I don't have it highlighted. I was like, well, that's pretty clear, so that makes sense to me. What you said makes sense. And I had one other comment to kind of pull your leg a little bit here, Mr. College. Number 4.3.1 D4 says, in order to qualify for the extensions, a parcel must meet all the following criteria. And one of the criteria is that it has to contain wetlands or be located within an Air E flood zone. By wetlands, are we talking about areas that contain seagrasses here specifically, or are we just talking about some other designation of wetlands? I know we've gone back and forth about that in the past, what is and what isn't a wetland. So are we talking about like EPC designated wetlands when we say wetlands there, or?
Well, yes, I mean, in this county, we do give deference to EPC's determination of a wetland.
Right.
Right.
Okay. All right, and that's all for me. I'm going to keep quiet now, so Commissioner Lau.
So I'm reading through this text amendment, and I see that it's primarily driven by the negative impacts from septic tanks. So to that end, was there an incident or a cluster of incidents that we can point to that's driving this policy change, this text amendment change?
We were approached by the Environmental Protection Commission and with an interest in there being an opportunity to do this, to protect certain areas. So I mean, I'm not sure we have anyone present from that agency today, but it's their contention that this was needed to be able to address that concern.
Facts are stubborn things. Do we have an incident or a cluster of incidents that's driving this change? Or is it the whim of someone within that department?
I can't point that out to a specific area right now, but I mean, I believe there have been concerns in certain areas of septic tank causing issues, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head the specific areas, but we can research that and we can get back to you at the next time and ask an EPC to come and give us that information.
I mean, I think it's worthwhile if we're going to explore this issue to do it in detail. This, in all candor, looks a little haphazard, and I think the implementation of it is going to be very difficult to administer with the way we've outlined this.
Well, we'll certainly contact the EPC and ask him for additional information on that question.
All right. Is that all? Good for now? All right. It's coming back before us. It's not for action right now, you know, so this is early on, so that's good feedback for them. Are there any other comments or questions? Yes, Commissioner Orton, sorry.
Is there already a policy regarding the green swamp and septics?
Well, the green swamp itself is not in Hillsborough County, although it is the headwaters of the Hillsborough River. Right, but we didn't have a provision for the connections to avoid a clustering or the incidence of septic tanks. We had the public health hazard, which is a little bit different. You know, if the potential for a clustering of septic tanks to impact a wetland or a water body, which does occur. Failing septic tanks can leak into the surface waters. So I think that's what the intent was here.
All right. Are there any other comments or questions, discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. Well, thank you for the presentation. We will move on to our next item of business, which was continued. Item number 4E, HCCPA 23-19, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 5711 Bishop Road was continued to the January 2024 cycle. So we will skip that and go on to item 4F. Am I on 4? Yeah. 4F, HCCPA 23-20, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 1322 East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And the presenter is Bryce Farringer.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Bryce Farringer, Planning Commission staff. This is HCCPA 23-20, 1322 East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. This is a privately initiated small-scale map amendment located on approximately 4.83 acres, and the request is to change the site's future land use designation from residential 1 to light industrial planned. This is a general location map of the October cycle of plan amendments for unincorporated Hillsborough County. This site is located within the central area of Hillsborough County. It's located within the rural area and is located within the limits of the Seffner Mango Community Plan and is also within a wellhead protection zone. This is an aerial view of the subject site located on the north side of East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard with the urban service area boundary marked in blue. The subject site currently utilizes heavy commercial uses, which also extend to the east. The property located directly north of the site is currently vacant. Single-family residential uses abut the western boundary of the subject site and extend further north as well. Additionally, there are agricultural uses located to the northwest. The property that abuts the southwest corner of the subject site is a public institutional use owned by Hillsborough County. Light industrial, light commercial, and heavy commercial uses are interspersed along Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to the east. A CSX transportation right-of-way is located directly south of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and is surrounded by additional single-family and vacant uses. The subject site currently has a future land use designation of Residential 1. Residential 1 extends to the north, northwest, and west. Light industrial plant is located to the east. To the south, across Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, is the Residential 4 future land use category. Residential 2 is located further west as well. The request is to change the site's future land use designation to light industrial planned. Overall, the proposed amendment would eliminate the possibility for residential uses on the subject site, and it would allow for an increase from 0.25 to 0.75 FAR. Currently, the subject site allows for a maximum of 4 dwelling units per acre, or 52,598 square feet of non-residential development. Under the proposed amendment, residential uses would be eliminated, and the maximum allowable square footage would increase to 157,796 square feet. This concludes my presentation, and I can answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. Well, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Move on to our next item of business. Item number 4G, City of Tampa Land Development Code text amendments, 1 through 8. And the presenter is Emily Phelan.
You didn't want to read them? All right. Emily Phelan, City of Tampa. Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This is the City of Tampa Land Development Code text amendments. There are 8 of them. The first one is Central Business District. The next one is to clarify when the historic district guidelines take precedence over the general zoning code. The third one is the final decision by City Council and withdrawal of an application, and that has to deal with a withdrawal of a plan amendment. The fourth one is updating the reference to the comprehensive plan. It is an outdated reference. The fifth one is enforcement of hazardous tree removals. The sixth one is commercial vehicle parking definitions. The seventh one is public notice requirements for land development decisions and text amendments to the Land Development Code. And the final one is the increased maximum height in Channel District 1 zoning to be consistent with Channel District 2 zoning. All of these amendments were part of the July 2023 cycle, and they will be back in front of you in January for the hearing, and the City of Tampa staff is here if you have any questions.
All right. Were there any questions from the commissioners? Any discussion items? Are these coming all together as one item, or?
No, they are broken up into 8 items.
Okay, good. All right. All right. Any other questions or discussion items? Not seeing any. Well, thank you for the presentation, and move on to our next agenda item, item number 5, our Executive Director's Report. And the presenter is Melissa Zornita.
Thank you. Melissa Zornita, Executive Director. At your seat, you should each have a copy of your Executive Director's Report. Couple of items that I wanted to highlight from the list. Shortly after the Planning Commission meeting last week, I participated as a witness for the county in a trial related to a 1991 zoning in Keystone. And you may have read about the project. Taylor Morrison is finally moving forward with developing this project in the Keystone area. Some of the neighbors are brought this suit saying that it was not in compliance with the comprehensive plan that's in effect today. So walked through a number of things as a part of that. We're still awaiting the outcome, as far as I know, of that proceeding. A number of meetings on this list relate to the update of the county's future land use section, which you had a briefing on last month and will be coming before you all in a special public hearing on January 22nd. So we are in the home stretch of getting input. We've had a number of community meetings in the last month, presentations to different groups. I'm going to the Agricultural Economic Development Council again tomorrow, trying to reach as many people as possible to let them know what is changing. Probably the area that has gotten the most interest has been the issue that Commissioner Kress brought up about expansion of the urban service area and the fact that we are stating affirmatively that we now need to plan for expansion of the urban service area by the creation of some strategic expansion areas. To that end, at the Board of County Commissioners meeting on, I think it was on the 15th, of November, Commissioner Myers had made a motion to ask staff to bring forward the actual geographies where we're going to study expansion areas. So our policies address when and how and what needs to be included in the plans for an expansion area. The comp plan update had not addressed the where, and Commissioner Myers is asking for that to be brought back by March. So we're working with county staff on that. We've already started some GIS mapping in relationship to that as well. So that conversation has quite a bit of momentum. Also, I would say probably the topic that in our public meetings also had the same amount of concern about, are we really going to have infrastructure keeping up with that growth if we go into a new area? So I think that's going to be an important area for us to address in those expansion area plans. Another topic throughout a number of the meetings on this list has been the topic of the TPO merger. The transportation planning organizations for Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco were required in the last legislative session to have a report on the feasibility of merging prepared by the end of this calendar year. That was completed. It was presented to the Hillsborough TPO. I believe that was November 17th, and then was presented to the regional body, the Suncoast Planning Alliance, on December 1st, and both of those bodies recommended moving that forward. What that report outlines is that, yes, it is feasible to merge the TPOs. It will take some time to put together all of the required documents that are needed to stand up a regional transportation planning organization. The timeframe that was laid out was about 3 years, and that there would be a benefit in having an independent facilitator and consultant to put those documents together, facilitate the meetings in a neutral fashion, bring all the parties together on key decisions that are going to have to be made about what does the composition of that board look like. In state statute, it requires that a TPO only have 25 members. Right now, for example, the Planning Commission, Commissioner Joseph serves on the TPO as a voting member, but some of those things would not perhaps be enabled in a 25-member board that is comprised of all 3 counties and the numerous cities and transportation authorities like the airport and the port. So there are some tough decisions that are going to have to be made over the coming years as that process progresses, but that report can be found on our website, and happy to answer any questions about that. We've had a number of meetings related to the the Palm River Progress Village Community Plan update. That effort has been going on for the better part of this year, and we had a series of open houses December 2nd, 4th, and 7th to get input on that finalizing that draft document. And then lastly, I would mention that we've had a couple of meetings and have a couple of more next week talking with the county and the Tampa-Hillsborough Expressway Authority about their proposal to look at extending the Crosstown Expressway south along US 301 to Big Bend Road, which would be a significant alleviator of some of the congestion in South Hillsborough County, but has some impacts on those communities that particularly have community plans along that corridor, namely Palm River, which that's the eastern boundary of, but probably more of an impact on the Riverview community plan. So been talking with them about the need to update that community plan to, it's been probably close to 15 years or more since that community plan was created. So it could use to be updated anyway and incorporate this into their overall vision for that community. With that, I would just simply highlight that there is an update on the back on 2 plan amendments, and one was heard last month. The Morris Bridge Road Plan Amendment in the City of Tampa was denied by City Council. The Plant City Plan Amendment that's mentioned there was heard several months ago in June, and you all found it inconsistent, as did staff and the Plant City Planning Board, but the Plant City Commission transmitted it to the state for review. Our next meeting is January 8th, and then if you can just make sure it's on your calendars for that special public hearing only on January 22nd at 5:30. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Were there any questions or discussion items from the commissioners? I did have one. How did that follow-up meeting with USF go?
It went well. I think they were a little surprised by the reaction of the Planning Commission to their plan amendment. And we're trying to think through some of the different approaches that they could take going forward. One that I suggested to them was if they had indicated, I think in the course of the conversation, that they weren't going to build all the way up to the edge of the property. I said, well, you don't have to change the land use category on the whole property then. Maybe leave part of it recreation and open space if it's really going to stay open space. So I think as they're formulating the RFP, they're hopeful that some of those things will start to get crystallized, and then that can be reflected in their plan amendment. So they had some process questions, things like that as well, but in general, they were surprised, but it was good.
That's good advice you gave them. That sounds hopeful, so we'll see.
Try to help.
All right. Were there any other comments? Not seeing any. Well, thank you for the presentation, and we will move on to our next item of business, which is other businesses. Chair's business, I have none. Old business, there is none. Anyone have any new business? Not seeing any. Committee reports. I would give a TPO committee report, but Ms. Zornita did that very well. No, don't be sorry. I'm thankful you did. You did a great coverage of what went on in the TPO meeting with the letter and everything. So, seeing no committee reports at this time, then that will be the end of our meeting. Meeting is adjourned at 4:20. We will see you at 5:30 for our public hearings. Meeting adjourned.